let's get started, my friend.
Cool. Let me pull up some slides real quick. Start up at the top here and we'll get going. All right, so we are, as Tristan's talking about, we got all kinds of cool equipment to show you today. We are catering to both beginners and intermediate. So depending on where you, unless you're a total video pro, hopefully you're going to learn about some stuff today that would be useful in your business. So first thing I do want to mention here is that this is, just kind of a fair warning. Some of the stuff we're going to show you may require other equipment. There might be an adapter necessary. This is not meant to be a full comprehensive training. If you need that, we'd love to welcome you into the Business Video School, of course. But today is really meant to be an overview of a whole bunch of different tools that can be particularly useful for you. Now, that being said, you always have to take everything with a grain of salt. Pretty much everything we're showing you today is something that we have used, in most cases, frequently in our business. So we are recommending it from firsthand experience. However, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the ideal product for you or your circumstance, right? So you definitely need to just take everything we're teaching you with a grain of salt. If you like what you see and it seems like it would solve a problem for you, then by all means, feel free to go out and grab a version of it. But if not, you may want to do more research and really kind of compare. What you're really looking at is price versus quality, right? I mean, all this kind of stuff, you can get tons. And I mean, literally when you get into lighting, you can buy lights that are thousands and thousands of dollars, and you can buy lights that are like $10, right? So you're always going to have a trade-off between price and quality. And so keep that in mind. Just because something seems like a really good deal price-wise, it may not actually be, because it might not accomplish the objective that you're aiming for, okay? So we wanted to cover, like I said, these two categories today. First, we're going to go over beginner, and then we're going to pause for a second, and then we're going to go over intermediate, okay? And so there will be a little bit of overlap, a couple products that are kind of a more advanced version of a previous one. So for instance, I have wireless microphones to show you for intermediate, but I also have wired and much more affordable microphones to show you for the beginner category. So if you're on the beginner side, just to kind of define this a little bit, that would be the people who have maybe made a couple videos. You're just kind of getting started. It's something you've been experimenting with, either just immediately now or for the past few months. And then intermediate is going to be the folks that really have started using video in their business already and are looking to sort of up their game, right? So somebody who's probably been making videos for at least a few months, if not a year or two, and looking for stuff that's going to just kind of give you that extra polish and that kind of professional look and whatnot, all right? So word of warning here, you are going to see more of my office/studio than ever before. I actually put on dress pants for this webinar. So I think the first time I've put on nice pants for a webinar yet, because I will be moving about the room and showing you all kinds of good stuff. And I know Jeff and Tristan also have a couple things to show you today. So before we get into it, because we're just going to kind of go through all kinds of things, if you do want to receive the list of all of the equipment that we're going to cover today with links directly to Amazon, you need to go ahead and sign up for our email list. And how you do that is listed here on the screen. So there's two ways to go about it. The first is you can send a text message to the phone number 44222. So you open up, I would literally do it right now. Get your phone out, go to your text messages, start a new text, and send it to 44222. And all you need to send is just the letters LEARNVIDEO sandwiched together like you see on the screen here, okay? So no space, learn video, no quotes, just the highlighted words there. It'll respond, it'll ask for your email. It's probably the most straightforward way to get signed up. Now, if you don't want to do that, you can just go to bit.ly/freevidtips, so bit.ly/freevidtips, and you can sign up there. You are going to be entered into our list where you're going to receive 2 full weeks of free video tips every single day in your inbox. And then you'll also, as a bonus, receive the list of all of the equipment we're going over today as soon as the training ends. So if you're already on that list, if you signed up during a previous webinar, you will also receive the list of equipment. We're going to send it to everybody who's on this list, and we're going to do it right when the webinar ends. So again, one final warning, and I will remind you of this probably at the end of the webinar if we have time, but if you do want to receive our equipment list with links directly to Amazon, you can sign up both of the ways on the screen. And for full transparency, they are affiliate links, so we do earn a little bit of a commission on each of those products, which is very helpful for us in our business, obviously. But we wouldn't recommend them if we were not using them ourselves and didn't believe that they're quality products that you can rely on, okay? Okay, so got through all the beginning intro stuff. Let's get into the good stuff. And so we're going to show you basically a bunch of different sets of different types of equipment that could be useful in different situations. So I'm going to first talk about them for a couple seconds, and then we're going to switch to demoing. And so logistically, this is going to be kind of complex compared to our typical webinar, because I'm going to be switching back and forth between slides to just the camera so that we can start to show you some of this. So the first thing I want to talk about today, and this is something I think Jeff's going to chime in for us a little bit as well, is stabilizing your footage for a beginner. Okay, so again, remember, right now we're just covering the beginner version. So if you're seeing this and you're going, what about a gimbal? We are going to get there, but that is an intermediate level tool. And so for a beginner, so somebody who's just started to make videos, maybe made a couple videos, you're kind of getting going, you know, and I'm curious to hear this actually in the comments of the chat here, is how many of you have made a video where you hold your phone up, and when you go back to watch it, it's really shaky, right? So it's almost like the camera is just kind of bouncing all over the place because your hands aren't the most steady. And I know this really drives Jeff crazy because it basically gives you, like, you know, nausea when you watch these, right? So it's almost like you get motion sickness from watching the video. So I'm curious if you ever made something that looked like that, or if you see other people making content that looks like that, right? And if you're like me, you know, it's probably something that you want to avoid. And honestly, this is an easy one to fix with a really basic piece of equipment. And that's a tripod, all right? So a tripod, you know, I'm sure you've all seen these before. They've been around for, you know, many, probably centuries at this point. And they're basically just, it's got 3 legs, right? So you've got tabletop version and you have full-size tripods. There's 3 legs. That's why it's called a tripod, right? And it's going to hold your camera. So it's just going to give you a nice stable shot. Obviously, there's nothing to move around or shake. The one limitation here is that it is stationary. So when you use a tripod for stable footage, you are going to have to put your phone in one spot and leave it in that spot, right? So that's why we'll talk about a gimbal later if you want to go, you know, mobile with it. And so let's do a couple quick demos here. So why don't we start with the tabletop tripod? And I think, Tristan, did you have your version of this as well that you wanted to show? Or I know, because you get that kind of adjustable one, but I have one too.
Are you talking about this little guy?
There you go. Yeah. So you want to talk about that one first, maybe?
Yeah, sure. Let me
end the share. Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
All right, guys. So this is the Rgb Gorilla Pro, and you can get this on Amazon. Rgb spelled J-O-B-Y. The cool thing about this one is that you can. These are bendable. See. So let me see if I can show my screen. Give me a second. Spotlight. All right. So these are bendable. So you can bend them around any device or a tree or a door, anywhere. And then all of a sudden it becomes easier for you to hold your phone wherever you want. And you can put them all together and you can go around recording yourself as well. The top comes off here, so you can actually put a big camera if you need. And the cool thing is on the top, this little top portion, it also swivels, so you can do horizontal or vertical. And to me, this has been a lifesaver. I probably use this the most out of anything I have when it comes to recording video. And sometimes you think, well, if I'm going like this, it's gonna be a little shaky. There are apps out there that help with the shakiness. And one of those apps that I use is called Emulsio, spelled E-M-U-L-S-I-O. And then I just edit with that, and it feels like it's very, very smooth. So again, this is the Rgb, or you want to call it Joby, but it's Rgb, J-O-B-Y. And it's the Gorilla Pro, Rgb Gorilla Pro. You can find it on Amazon. It's not cheap, but they do have some of these. You can also go to their website. Just go to rgb.com and then you'll find them there. But I love this thing, guys.
Cool. So I'm going to show you my version of the tabletop tripod next. So I've got it right here. And this is an Ulanzi. So you're going to, if you get into buying video equipment, you're going to find there's a lot of really strange brand names that are manufactured overseas. So some of them are very hard to pronounce, but you can see that there on the screen. But there's a lot of versions of this kind of tabletop tripod. So this is a more basic form. So you can see here as I'm opening it up, right? So it doesn't have the bendable legs, but it's got legs that'll go completely out like that, and you can lay it on a table completely stable that way. On the top then, same thing Tristan has. I've got a phone adapter, so you can clip your phone in here. I did notice that somebody asked about an iPad. You can buy adapters like this that will hold tablet devices, right? They're not always going to work with all tabletop tripods because some of them are pretty compact. They're kind of meant for phones or cameras, and a tablet gets pretty big, but you can also buy adapters and tripods that work with those. One thing that's cool about this one is that obviously the legs expand out like that, but there's also a kind of a dial I can turn here to adjust how far the legs are allowed to extend. And so this gives me basically 2 settings for how tall the tripod can be. So I can set it up to be a little bit taller. You know, it gives me about 2 inches of wiggle room, not much, but obviously this is meant for the tabletop. And then the final thing I'll mention, I don't know how well you can see it here, but you can adjust the ball joint here, and then it allows you to move around the adapter. So you can actually kind of swivel this around, change the angle that you're shooting at. But this will be something that's very, very good for using a phone and shooting stuff that you're just kind of sitting at your desk or a table. So talking head style videos is going to be great. And the final thing I'll mention about these two, and this is the same thing Tristan was saying, is that the legs collapse into essentially a handle. So now you have kind of a mini, at least, you know, a handhold for holding your camera. But the one Jeff's going to show you, I think, is actually a little bit more advanced in terms of being able to extend. So Jeff, you want to show us more of your full-size tripod as well?
Yeah. So one thing I'm going to say too, to somebody who asked about a cell phone or a holder for your car, Tristan's the Rgb actually works pretty well. You can wrap that thing around your steering wheel. You can wrap that thing around like a stick shift. You can, a lot of these are dual use. I actually also use this guy. I will literally set it up in the car. So I would suggest to the person who asked that, I went to Amazon because I saw your question, and there's a ton of options for $10. Just depends on what you want it to attach to. Otherwise, you can easily multi-use these tripods in your car as well, or just set your phone somewhere in your car where it can just be held rather than holding it. Because yes, like Nick said, I can't stand videos. I do it occasionally, very, very, very rarely. But when you're showing a house, when you're walking through a listing, that's the worst thing in the world. When you're walking through the house with a phone, because remember, people, you're already nervous to do a video. So when you couple the fact that you're nervous and you're holding your phone, you're shaky. There's just no way around it, and people are going to leave your videos. So I recommend tripods. The reason why I like this one, and this isn't expensive. This is like $25 on Amazon. It extends to 5 feet, so it extends all the way up. It does come with the cell phone adapter, but obviously this can screw off, and you could screw on a DSLR camera or whatever as well. This one can be used as a selfie stick. So it comes with this little guy here, so a little remote control that it can be Bluetooth to your phone, and all you got to do is hit the little button, and you are recording or taking a picture, which is pretty awesome. So it's very, very simple, very inexpensive, but makes a huge difference. I use this all the time. I like this one as well because obviously it easily shifts to vertical versus horizontal. So depending on which platform you're shooting, obviously TikTok and IG, you're doing most of your stuff in vertical. So it's super easy. And I'm going to tell you, I don't have a partiality to a product or a name or a brand. You just go find what you feel like will work. We just suggest this stuff because it's what we own, but we're not necessarily partial to it. And I will also say that I intentionally buy inexpensive stuff for the most part to prove to people that you don't need to have the most expensive equipment to shoot quality video. So we'll leave you with that.
So Jeff, what was the brand of that one? Do you happen to know the tripod you're showing?
It is Fugetek, Fugetek.
Right. Okay. Another fun name.
I guess that's how it's pronounced. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
So again, Fugetek or Fugetek.
So we will have all of these products linked in that list. So if you do want to sign up for the tips list, you will get a list of all of the products we're covering today with a link directly to Amazon. No problem. So cool. And Jeff, while I'm switching back to the slides, one last question I had on that one is, how does the remote work? So is it like, does it attach by Bluetooth, or is there an app that they have to download? How does that work?
No, it's Bluetooth. So it's Bluetooth? Literally, okay. Yeah, as soon as, and it comes with batteries. So all you do is open up the Bluetooth on your phone. It'll find it once it's turned on, and cool. You're good to go. That easy.
Easy enough. Love it. Thanks for sharing. All right, cool. So we are going to switch gears now, and we're going to start talking about lighting. So this is a big one. Lighting and sound are two of the areas of your video where, you know, there are probably the most opportunities to improve with equipment in particular. Obviously, your on-camera skills are another area where you can really improve your videos, but you're not going to necessarily need equipment for that. So lighting and audio, this is where you can probably spend you know, thousands and thousands of dollars if you want. This is the beginner level. So what we're going to talk about next are just a few of the different tools that you can get as a beginner to, you know, really just kind of add that extra element to your video. So I'm going to have to switch at this point from where I am to moving my camera out a little bit. But before I do that, the one product I did want to show you first is the first thing you see listed there, which is the, again, these names are ridiculous, right? Auxiwa is maybe how you pronounce the name of that one. I mean, there's like 10 different manufacturers in this list. It's crazy, but it's a pretty cool little product. I'm sure there's other manufacturers that make them, but this is a clip-on selfie ring for doing selfie style videos on your phone. So let me just show you how this works really quick. So if you've got your video camera pulled up, so you can kind of see yourself there, so to speak. You put this right over the top of the phone like that, all right? And so the camera, the selfie camera is in the middle of that ring right there, okay? And then you hit the button on the back and it has 3 different levels of brightness. You can kind of see that getting brighter. And so I'm just gonna, so you can see kind of the effect that it creates. So I already have a big light right here, and I'll turn that off in just a second and show you this again. But this is basically the effect that it creates, right? So you get kind of, so this is something you're gonna keep on your phone for doing a selfie video, right? So that's about the smallest, most compact, most affordable version of lighting you can get. And then it also will do that, which is flickering now.
Hey, Nick, I don't know if they can see you, so you might want to unshare your screen and show that real quick. Just so
well, I'm going to do that in just a second. I'll show it again in just a second. So I need to do kind of a set change at this point to show these other 2 things. So while I'm doing that, Jeff, do you want to talk a little bit about your lighting setup in your office there and the equipment you use?
So first of all, I want to remind everybody who's asking the question, you don't have to sign up for the list. If you're signed up, if you're on Zoom right now, we're going to email you all this stuff. So you got it, no problem there. You're already set. Yeah, in terms of lighting, you know, lighting is extremely important, more important when it's dark outside. But if you set up the most underused piece of lighting for video or part of a piece of equipment is the sunlight. As long as you have your camera or your laptop or your phone set up correctly, you're going to be fine. So like literally when we started working from home, I had to rearrange my office a little bit so that the back of my laptop here is facing my window. So a lot of you, that's a simple fix just right there. Have the back of your phone or the back of your computer facing the outside, the window, so the light, the natural sunlight is on my face. Now you can see I always wear a hat. Look how much I'm lit up. That's not lighting, that's sunlight. That's all it is. I'm just facing the right direction. That's all you have to do. Now I do have box lights in here and I do use them, but I typically will use that at night or if I'm facing a direction and you maybe have a shadow on one side because of the way I'm facing, like this way would be, so the shadow would be here, then I would face a light here where it lights up my entire face. But again, it's really just, all you have to do is be cognizant about where natural light is. And 90% of your videos will have good lighting. You just have to know how to position the camera or the laptop. And sometimes it means you have to rearrange your office, but I think it's worth it because a bad video, when I come across a video when somebody's in their car or whatever, and I have a shadow on their face, I immediately don't want to watch. Because there's just, the lighting's poor. It tells me that if that's the effort they're going to put into their video, then the quality of their video is probably not going to be that good either, the quality of their content. So that's my take on that, Nick.
So I want to share a few things here. I want to show you my camera setup here. Can you see that?
Yep.
All right, I've got 2.
Well, I can see. Hold on, I don't know if they can see it though.
I'm seeing it now. Yep.
All right, cool. So I've got 2, that's all. And they're both ring lights. This one cost me 20 bucks. And that one cost me 40 because it's taller. But you shouldn't have to spend more than 25, 30 bucks. It's called UB Size TR50. And then I can change the type of lighting it's got. So if I want to change it up, so it gets a little softer on my face, I can, but it makes a massive difference when you're shooting video. I mean, the one thing that's underestimated is the lighting and the audio, how important that is.
Right. Awesome. Yeah. So let me show you a couple other options. So now you're seeing my, almost most of my office at this point. And can you guys hear me okay? Just let me know real quick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good? Okay, so I switched to a wireless microphone, which I'm gonna talk a little bit more about later to do this. So there's two other things that I wanted to show you here. You're gonna have different, when it comes to buying the lighting, one of the things that you really need to consider is how often are you gonna need to go mobile with the lighting, right? So if you're gonna keep everything in the same place, you can actually tend to save some money in that case, because you can buy really cheap basic box lights and they're gonna hold up. If you buy something like that and then you're trying to move it very often, honestly, I've had some of these lights where I move them 3 or 4 times and they fall apart, right? So it really depends on if you're going mobile or not. So this is an LED light. So I'm gonna show you just a little bit of info on this one really quick. It's very portable, it's very durable. This thing has held up after about 2 to 2.5 years of doing live streaming in different places. So we've moved this probably 75 to 100 different times. It goes in and out of a box, you know, it's held up pretty well. So the way these work is you can see on the back here that they have a battery pack in them. All right, so that obviously just pops right out. This particular model of battery is a replacement for a Sony style battery. So if, you know, these are pretty common, they're actually going to work with a lot of like video cameras as well. And so they just literally pop into the back here. And then you've got this button. And then another cool thing about it, let me see how well you can really see this as I adjust it, but you can actually control the brightness pretty significantly. So it's maybe a little bit hard to see. I'll hold my hand up, see if you can tell if it's getting brighter or not. But anyway, so you can see the idea, right? But kind of you can basically scale up and down. So this light is really great. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to turn off my overhead light and just kind of give you a general sense of this light, right? So one thing, and I don't know how well you can see this through the webinar, but this kind of light, an LED light, and let me just turn it around for a second and give you an idea at home, is very direct. It's very intense, okay? So this is the kind of light that if you need to be mobile, if you need something you're gonna be able to move with you that's very compact, it's great for that. But the light that it creates is very intense, right? And it basically shines kind of directly at you. So they come with this particular item is included with it. So this is a diffuser. So it's just basically a piece of frosted plastic. And what you do is you can put that on the front of the light, and it's going to basically it's going to give you slightly softer light. It's going to kind of diffuse the light just a little bit, but they're still really direct. So that's your option in terms of a battery powered, more mobile type of lighting solution. And then what Jeff showed you just a second ago, or was talking about at least, would be this. So see if I can make sure this is on the screen here. And I'm going to turn my overhead light back on as well so you can see me. So this is what's called a softbox, all right? And so the idea behind this kind of a light is that you're actually going to have, I'm going to take the front of this off. So you see in there, you got that giant light bulb inside of there. And so what this does is this cover that goes around the front of it, what it's basically doing is it's turning this light that's inside of here kind of into a bigger, wider light that's more diffused, okay? So the light that this produces, and let me see if I can, I'm gonna try to turn it on and see if you can tell. Again, I mean, I know you're watching this through a webcam, so it can be a little bit tricky to tell the difference on this stuff, but let's see if you can tell. So you see how much less intense that is, right? When I hold this one up, it basically blinds you, right? And then this one kind of looks more like it's glowing, right? So the difference is going to be that this one creates a much softer kind of a light, right? Which is really what you want. When you're making video or you're taking pictures, you really want a diffused light. It's the same thing if you think about what Jeff was saying earlier with being out, you know, using natural light. When you have an overcast day, when it's actually a little bit cloudy outside, that's when you're going to get the best light because the light is completely diffused. It's not directly shining. It's being distributed by the clouds, and it's basically, not to get into all the science behind it, but all the photons are bouncing around in different directions, and it just makes for more flattering light, okay? So when we get into the more advanced or the intermediate type of equipment, you're going to see an even more advanced version of a light like this. And you'll see as you go up and as you get fancier, the lights tend to get bigger, they tend to get more distributed, and they almost always have at least one, and the one I have here actually has two of these covers on them to create nice diffused light. All right, so this is what you're going to want to go with. And again, we have links to both of these in that document that we're going to send if you sign up on the list. So make sure you do that. We have links to this. We got links to the LED lights. But your big question you're going to have to answer for yourself is, how often am I moving my equipment? Am I going to be doing a lot of shoots on site? In which case, I probably want to go with stuff that's battery powered. This is something you're going to plug into the wall, so it doesn't use a battery. Or do I want these softer lights like the Softboxes, but I'm going to keep them in the same space and I'm going to do most of my work from a studio. All right. So hopefully I give you some options to consider.
And Nick, I want to address a few questions here real quick.
Go ahead.
So first of all, Linda asked the question about, as a new agent, wouldn't it be better to hire someone? And I think the answer to that, Linda, is twofold. One, to hire a videographer, you're usually going to be talking anywhere from $200 to $1,000 a video, depending on how advanced you want, how much equipment they have to bring, and that sort of thing, which is why we suggest this sort of stuff. But it's also why we say that these are suggested pieces of equipment. But like when you go to an open house, one of the bigger mistakes we see agents make all the time is they don't turn on lights. They don't open up blinds. I mean, you can usually satisfy good enough lighting for walkthrough videos just by opening it up and having good light shine in. Obviously, if you're going to be going into a house that doesn't have an exterior window, or you're going to be doing this video at night, that's when you need to bring these obviously the equipment. You need to bring additional lighting, but it's all a matter of how well do you want it done. If you want it professionally done, 1,000,000%, I hire somebody. But if, so when you have a $1 million listing, when you have a high listing, you should hire somebody every single time. But if you have a listing that maybe doesn't justify that, it's a $150,000, $200,000, $250,000 listing, this is why we're making these suggestions. But again, and I'm a big proponent of this, you don't need to spend more than $100 on equipment to create quality videos. You just got to know what you're doing.
Right. That's
Nick,
great
do you want to answer? And Tristan, I know you answered this, but in general, on all of this equipment, how long do the bulbs last on most of these pieces of equipment?
It lasts about 2 years, man. They're pretty good. And then the replacements are super easy to find. You actually just go on Amazon and find them there. So very, very easy to replace too.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff, it's going to last as long as you keep it in good shape, right? So if you get LEDs, I mean, LED lights are supposed to hold up for, in a lot of cases, like 50,000 hours of use or something like that, which you could probably never use them that much for making videos unless you were like leaving them on all day for no reason. So yeah, I mean, a lot of it in my experience has always been user damage, right? So it's like,
true. Yeah,
sometimes you'll get some defective, like, and when you order this stuff from overseas, like there are sometimes defective products you just have to exchange. But other than that, I mean, it's just a matter of how well you keep it and are careful with it. And so if you're super careful with it and very delicate, and you have a hard shell case that you can put it in, or something where it's not going to get exposed to bumps and bruises as you're moving it, it should hold up. So, and then back to what Jeff's saying, yeah, I definitely agree with the idea that if you want something professional, go with a videographer. But I think everybody should try to do some video on their own, right? So you got to learn the basics. I think you'll work much better with a videographer if you already know some of the basics and have tried a few things on your own. But obviously there's a trade-off, right? Because you're not going to make anything nearly as nice as a professional would.
Right. All right. And everything clear. I'm looking at some of these questions, which obviously they're coming in from all over. So if you don't answer anything, I apologize. But even, again, you can use natural light. You have a cell phone, which is your camera. Frankly, if you're in a quiet setting, you don't even need a lavalier microphone because the microphone on your camera is good enough. We're just giving you suggestions that if you want to take it up a notch, if you want to make it higher quality, if you want to shoot a professional video, because I shoot them all. I shoot some with lav, I shoot some with lighting, I shoot some with that. It's all over the board. It's just you've got to decide what you want to display your brand, based on the video quality or based on what type of video you're putting out.
Yeah, and I should have said that at the beginning. I wanted to make it clear to everybody that the way you should decide if you're going to buy a piece of equipment is that you're starting to recognize the problem that equipment would solve, right? So I wouldn't buy anything at the beginning. And I always tell our students, I always say, look, you need to make a few videos before you buy any equipment because you don't know what you need yet. And otherwise, you're going to use buying equipment as an excuse to just procrastinate, you know? So if you're out there going, oh, I gotta go buy all this stuff before I can make my first video, that's the exact opposite of what we want to have happen here, right? We want you to just get started, get making video, get out there, start trying things. And then as you run into issues, for instance, you know, if you run into the problem of, hey, my first couple of videos are really jittery, I'm not holding my phone very stable. Okay, well then go ahead and get your tripod, right? Or if you're recording videos, you feel like your voice doesn't sound very good, your audio is not very clear, right? Then maybe you want to go ahead and invest in a microphone, which we're about to talk about. So think of it that way. Think of it as, what is the problem that this product solves? And have I started to encounter that problem? And if I haven't, then I should not be buying something yet. In particular, when we get to talking about gimbals, which are really cool, I've seen a lot of people buy gimbals way before they needed them, and it only slowed them down because they couldn't figure out how to use them, and they really didn't need them yet, right? So that's just one example, but try to make sure you can identify the problem you're solving before you buy anything. So let's talk about mics
Nick,
next.
Real quick, yeah. Nick, one more thing that somebody brought up was having a ring light when you're wearing glasses. So yes, you are going to get the reflection of the ring light in your glasses or on your eyes. The one way that you can avoid this is by not having it be eye level. So have the ring light kind of shine up on you, or have the ring light above and shining down on you. That's one way you can avoid it, is just adjust the height of the light. Ring lights, generally speaking, though, somebody else asked this question, would be more for like talking head. So exactly for what Tristan's using it for. You're not typically going to walk around a property with a ring light. You're going to use that for when you're just trying to, make you the highlight of the video.
Yeah, and actually that reminds me, Jeff, I had mentioned that I would show this ring light again with the lights turned off so people could see how it works. So this is what I look like with just the ambient light in the room. And I do have 2 windows on either side, so it actually doesn't look terrible because I do have some natural light in here. Let me turn this on. I'm gonna turn it all the way up. And so this is now.
Can you unshare your screen so they can see you better?
Sorry, yeah. All right, so hopefully you can see me a little better now. So there we go, we got the light on the camera, and so you can see, so hopefully you can kind of see the difference now in terms of how that's lighting up my face versus if I don't have it on, right? So you get kind of the idea there. And then that, so yeah, back to the question about glasses, any light is gonna get reflected by glasses. So you're always gonna deal with that problem. It doesn't matter if it's a ring light or another kind of light. And really any kind of glass is gonna reflect a light like that. So we've also had issues where we try to film something where there's like a piece of glass behind us and it'll reflect the light. So you always gotta watch out for that when it comes to glass. All right, so let's talk about the lapel mics next. So again, we're still in the beginner category. So these are things that we would encourage you to think about in that first kind of like 10 to 30 videos when you're first getting started making this a habit in your life. And the lapel microphone is actually one of the primary things I'll recommend very early in the process because it typically does improve the audio quality. So Jeff, I think you have at least one of these that you might be able to show for us. So you mind showing yours, and I'll get mine out while you're doing it. Let's turn off this
yeah, I've got both. Yes, when it comes to the lav mic, I only use this occasionally because, again, if I'm in a quiet setting, the microphone on my phone is good enough. But I have this old guy. It's actually beat to hell. I even lost the little wind cover on it. It's been broken. I've had to duct tape it, but it's functional and it works perfectly. And when I use this, it makes the sound a whole hell of a lot different. Now with my laptop, I'm using this microphone. So I've got an arm and then just a standard microphone here. We can share what the brand is in the email as well. Again, got it on Amazon. I'm going to show you a difference here. So I'm talking with that microphone now, and I'm going to use my microphone laptop. So now, can you tell the difference? I'm now talking on my laptop microphone. So it's fine, but it's not as crisp. It's not as strong. And it's a way bigger difference when we're talking about lav mics on videos when you're using your cell phone, when you're shooting videos with a DSLR or whatever. It's going to be a much more crisp, strong, high quality. Again, so this is just my opinion, and oops, I muted myself. I'm going to go back to my microphone. And what I would say is this: I pick and choose when I'm going to use my lav mic based on the video content that I'm putting out. If I'm going live, if it's personal, I don't really care. Like, as long as they can hear me, that's all that matters. But when I'm putting out a video, when Nick says, hey, can you record a video for the business video school, a tip, well, then I'm going to use my lav mic, because to me, that needs to be a higher, crisper, higher quality of video. So if I'm you, the agent, if you are doing an evergreen branding video, use a lav mic. You want to sound professional. And if you're just doing something live with your family, personal on the weekend, I wouldn't worry too much about it. And one other thing I will say is, Nick, you just showed this, and I'm just holding up the package right now, or the bag, is an interview lav mic set. This is a lavalier microphone set that has a splitter. It splits into two. So when you go out to interview like a business, because a lot of people we're doing that now, you go out to restaurants, we want to highlight businesses, right? I would invest in one of these because that does make a difference. When you're in a restaurant, when you're in a store, there's going to be background noise. So make sure the people that are talking are clipped up with a microphone, and you can get these, and if it's 3 people, what I'll do is I'll clip it on somebody's shoulder, like in between 2 of the people that are talking, just so the microphone's there and it can grab them. Or you can always use a Rode mic or something like that, which Nick, I assume you'll probably talk about.
Yep, and so just kind of a couple final points on the lapel microphones. When you do wear them, you're going to want to put it basically at the second button on your shirt, so about 6 to 8 inches below your mouth. I recommend running them through your shirt, and so either having it come out, you know, on the right or left side, kind of on the side of your shirt, or you can run it all the way down through your pant leg and have it come out there. It's just a little bit trickier, but that way it hides the cord. And the other thing a lot of people don't realize is most of these microphones are what's called omnidirectional, which means they pick up sound in all directions, which means it does not have to face a certain way. So if it's easier when you run it through your shirt to clip it on upside down, if it looks a little bit better, that's fine. It's still going to get your voice, you know, completely the same, assuming it's a lavalier microphone, which most of these are, and those are omnidirectional. Another thing that I'll mention is some of these, well, every single one of these microphones is going to either work with a camera or with a phone. They have actually different adapters or different jacks on the ends of them, depending on that. But you can get versions like this one, which is an Insignia microphone, but other ones are like this, where there's actually a switch, and I don't know how well you can see that on my camera there because it's not full HD, but it allows you to flip a switch which turns it from camera to smartphone. So you can actually use this microphone, this particular brand, with either of them, right? So if you're still at the phase where you're predominantly using your smartphone to make your videos, I wouldn't bother buying something like this because it's just extra money for no reason. But if you do kind of switch back between the two, that can be a great version of the microphone to get because you can use it in both of those situations. Okay. All right. So moving back to the slides, man, this switching back and forth thing is annoying, but I appreciate you all bearing with us here as we do this today. So just one last thing we will mention before we move on here, you'll see it on the screen right now, is that if you're using a newer model of the iPhone, they don't actually have the headphone jack in them anymore. So you do need the audio dongle. So it's the little like 3-inch cable that you probably already lost when you got your iPhone. But basically you can order them online if you need another one. But it's going to allow you to plug the audio connector into the phone because there is no audio jack on those phones. So just a quick side note, make sure you have your adapter. All right. So we did have a request in a few of these previous trainings to at least mention briefly what the school is before we got to the end of the presentation, because some people were having to jump off. So I did want to take just like 2 quick minutes to just mention what Business Video School is, since that's what we're doing here. And then we have more content to get to on the intermediate level. We're going to be showing you some more advanced type of equipment for a few minutes. So Business Video School, kind of think of it as what you're seeing today, the kinds of experience you're getting through these webinars is sort of a taste of what you would get in Business Video School. So what it is basically, it's a whole school. We actually have one course currently that we're offering, but we are adding additional courses that's meant to teach business professionals how to use video effectively in their business, right? So we talk a lot about creating marketing videos, but we also teach you just how to be more comfortable on camera, how to edit videos, how to post them correctly to all the different social media platforms, how to get your engagement numbers up, how to run some basic Facebook ads and things like that. And then what we're going to start doing in the future is we're going to add additional courses. So things like, more advanced editing skills, how to build a following on YouTube, all kinds of good stuff. So the process though is a little bit different than your typical online training. This actually is a school structure. And so what happens is when you first sign up, you get added to a class. So rather than just buying a training and watching it at your own pace, we wanted to do something that actually holds people accountable and gets them to practice the skills we're teaching. So you enter a class, and every week at the same time on the same day, we stream a training to you through a watch party on Facebook, which means that you're attending class with all of your fellow students. You're seeing the class at the same time. So when you're asking a question, they're seeing that question. They're able to benefit from seeing the answer to that question, which is provided by one of our admins in the chat. We have Q&A sessions. So outside of the class, if you have questions, if you need help, we can get together and answer those questions one-on-one for you. We assign homework at the end of each class, which is actually a project that makes you make video content that you can be using for your business. So bottom line, and again, I don't want to dwell on this too long because we want to move on to the rest of the equipment, is just that this is a program where you'll learn to start using video effectively in your business, right? So basically, we're talking about beginners and intermediates because those are the people that are a great fit for our school, right? So if you're a total pro, you've made 300 videos at this point, you've got a couple thousand followers on YouTube or something, probably not for you. But if you're not to that point yet and you're working your way up to it, and the stuff that you're seeing today is beneficial in some way to you, you would probably be a great fit for the school if you're looking for a group where you're going to be encouraged and held accountable, right? So just a couple other things real quick before we move on. I do have at this point some testimonials. So we have 110 or so students that have joined in about the past month. I know most of them actually are Lab Code Agents members because I think most of them signed up as a result of these webinars, which is great. And so if you want to just get a sense of what do some of the students think about the school, this is obviously what Dennis thought. He's been in the program for about a month and a half at this point. So I think we're getting to the 6th class for him. And then here's a couple other things that people have been saying as a result of being in the school. So it's obviously always helpful to see what other people think. I have a few more of those I'll show if we have time at the end of the training. And then the final thing, kind of the most important part maybe, is where can you learn more? Where can you sign up? And that's going to be bizvideoschool.com. So we do have a new class starting in exactly 2 weeks. The last 2 classes both sold out. We tend to limit these to 50 total students because too much more than that can get a little bit unruly. So we do have a bunch of seats open. You do have 2 weeks, obviously, to get signed up. But once it's full, we will have to cap it, and you'll have to wait till the next class. So if you are interested in learning more, or if you do want to get signed up, you can go visit bizvideoschool.com. And again, I'll remind you of that at the end of the webinar. But since we do often run out of time on these, I just wanted to make sure that we mention that real briefly here. Okay. So moving on to intermediate, now we're getting into some more advanced types of equipment. And so what I want to show you here, and again, obviously as we advance, we're going to show you equipment that would replace the stuff we just showed you, right? Or that would be kind of a supplement to it. And so I'm going to show you my light setup here. I've got 2 different lights that I want to show you next. And then I'm also going to talk a little bit about the microphones that we like to use that are on the more professional end, okay? So let's see here. I'm going to turn off my screen share to make sure I know all of what I need to show. All right, so first thing I'm going to show you is the big light that I've mentioned a couple times. And this thing is gargantuan. So let me move it on over here without breaking anything. That's always the key. Don't break any ceiling fans or anything like that, right? All right, so this is our key light. So you refer to it as a key light because basically this becomes the primary light that you use to light somebody, right? This thing is big, right? So this is a 25-inch called a beauty dish with silver on the inside. And so this is actually what you're seeing here is 3 separate components, all right? And all of these are going to be listed in that equipment list if you get it. So you've got the light itself, which is this Goddux, again, the weirdest names, right? Goddux SL60W, which I think this 60W is probably for 60 watts, all right? This is an LED light. Look how big this thing is, right? So again, this is the LED light I showed you earlier. Go ahead and turn that off. So look at how small that is compared to the big one, right? So this is a much, much more powerful light. Few things that I like about it. It's got its own fan built in, so it basically is never going to overheat. It has a dial on the back where you can adjust it, right? So this is with it turned all the way down. You can see, I mean, you can hardly see any light there. And then I'm going to turn it all the way up and get a sense of just how much brighter it really can get. So you have a lot of range with a light like this. This is a very high-end light. And then one other thing, I'm going to turn it off for a second, and I'm going to see if I can get you to see this. So this is that film that I talked about, right? The diffuser. So you put this thing on here because it makes the light less harsh and it distributes it a little bit better. But when you get into these higher end lights, And again, I don't know how well you can see that there, but there's actually a second layer on the inside. So about 3 inches behind this is an additional white layer. Again, additional diffusion. And then you have this one on the outside, right? So this is about $300 or so full investment between the light, the dish, and then this is called a C stand on the bottom. And I don't know how well I can show you this with the, I'm just gonna tilt my webcam down for a second. So you can see at the bottom there, if you can, sorry, I'm not sure how well that's working, but you see those 3 legs there? So this stand probably weighs like, I don't know, 15 pounds. It's pretty heavy. It's heavy, 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 heavy duty, right? So this is the kind of thing that if you want to go mobile with this is called a C stand, and the legs all collapse together onto one side. So it's much more portable than it looks, but it is heavy duty. This thing is basically made out of straight up stainless steel. You would have to really beat the hell out of this to break it, right? So now the light is a little bit more fragile, but altogether, this kind of a setup is going to hold up a lot better than the cheaper box light, right? So the ones that I showed you earlier, this Godox setup is going to be much, much more durable, which is nice. So that is something you obviously would use in a studio, but if you did need to move, you could. All right, let me move that back over there. Okay, that was the first one. The second light that I want to show you, and this one I'm actually really excited about. Now, let me turn some light back on so you can see me. But this next one I'm going to show you is actually, this is an RGB light, okay? So if you can see that there, look how small that thing is, right? It's basically, so here's my cell phone. That's about how big the light is, okay? So it's essentially the exact same size as my cell phone. Now, this kind of a light, this is not a good light for filling the room with light, okay? This is what you would call an accent light. And so this is going to produce a very small amount of light, but what's really cool about it, let me go ahead and turn it on and show you here, is that it creates colored light. All right, so you can kind of see that shining on my face there. So if you've seen any of our trainings in our business video school, you'll see that behind me on that wall back there, it actually looks a little bit blue, and that's because I have this light turned on. And so what's cool about this too is you can adjust, you can actually increase and decrease the brightness. You can change the color. So let me just go ahead and scroll through a few of these for you. So I'm just holding down a dial, and I don't know how well you can see the color here, but the color is gradually changing as I scroll through all the different options, right?
That's pretty
so it's
cool.
really cool. And then there's these different modes as well, where I can create these, like, this one's like a lightning effect or something like that, where you can kind of create like a lightning effect behind you. And I think this one's supposed to be like an emergency light for an ambulance or a cop car, so you can make it look like the cops showed up in your house or something, right? But anyway, so that's a cool light for just accent type stuff, right? Being able to add just a little bit of color behind you, all those kinds of things. So totally different use case from the key light, which is meant to be very bright and really kind of fill the room with light. But very useful in terms of, again, we're talking intermediate at this point. So kind of adding just that little extra element, this kind of light can be very helpful for that, okay? And then the audio version, I know I'm just kind of flying through things here, so bear with me, but let me show you a couple more. So the audio options that you have at this level, this is where you're gonna get into the more elaborate types of microphones. So the first one I wanna show you is this. So this, and you probably can't hear me quite as well right now, but this is what's called a Rode Wireless Go. So look how small that thing is, right? So this is a wireless microphone, all right? This is about $200. So everybody's always asking me about cheap wireless microphones. They really don't exist. You are gonna spend some money if you're buying a wireless microphone, but it's very dependable. I've been using it actually for most of this presentation. So hopefully it's been sounding pretty good on your end. But what I love about this thing is that you can plug a lapel microphone into it. So if you were to do that, you'd plug it in, you'd put your lapel on your shirt, and then this would just clip onto your belt or something like that, right? However, it also has a microphone built straight into the transceiver. So this thing that sends the audio signal to the receiver, which is plugged into my computer right now, it's very compact and you can plug it in, but it also has the microphone in it. So all I really have to do is I just clip this to my shirt right where I would put the lapel microphone. And obviously it's a little bit more conspicuous than a lapel microphone would be, but it's not that bad, right? It actually doesn't, it's not all that much more noticeable than a traditional mic. So super convenient, right? Very, very easy to use. And then the other thing I'll show you, and then we'll see if we have any questions, because I know I've been going over a lot here, is this is the Rode Video Pro Plus. I believe. I'll have to go back to my slides to get you the exact name, but it is a Rode microphone. It's a high-end mic. You're gonna spend about $300 on this. So again, more of an intermediate type product. And you can see I've got a stand as well. And so I've got this boom stand. What I'm able to do, if you've seen any of our webinars before this, you don't see a microphone in the image when I'm talking, but I actually have this microphone set up so that it's right here. It's just right above me and it's right out of the shot. So the camera doesn't see it, but the microphone's probably no more than about 1 foot to 1.5 feet away from my mouth. And then this kind of mic, this is what's called a shotgun microphone, okay? So it's different than the lapel microphone. Remember I talked about the lapel will pick up sound in all directions. A shotgun microphone, see how it's shaped? It's actually got a point to it. This will pick up sound in the direction that it's pointed, all right? So what you do is you make sure it's pointed directly at your mouth and it's gonna get really, really clear audio. One of the things that does for you is if you have a really echoey room, you're actually gonna get better audio from a microphone like this because it doesn't pick up as much of the background sound. So it doesn't pick up the echo, it only picks up what it's pointing at. So it's not perfect. You have a really bad echo, you're still gonna hear it, but compared to your traditional lapel microphone, that's gonna pick up audio without as much of the excess noise. And that's what you do. You basically get one of these stands and you can either put it underneath and have it point up, or you can put it above you and have it point down. And in both cases, it's gonna pick up really cool, really clean audio for you.
So
All
question,
right.
Nick, on the Rode Wireless, Wireless Go that you have clipped on, a couple questions on Facebook. Does that connect to any phone, iPhone, Android? I know you have an Android, right?
I do, yeah. Well, so if it connects to that, it's got to work with anything, right?
That's true. Very good one.
So yeah, let me show you. So the answer is it'll connect to pretty much anything as long as you can put an audio cable and plug it into the phone. However, you might need one of these. And again, I don't know how well you can see that, but this is an adapter. So you remember I talked earlier about certain types of audio cables work with a phone and certain types work with a camera. This kind of microphone is a more high-end mic, so it's designed to work with an actual camera. So you do need to get one of these little adapter cords for it to work with a phone in particular, right? So you would plug the other end, the receiver, which is again plugged into my computer, into this. You'd plug this into your phone, and you would be good to go. So we'll make sure that there's also a link to this little product. I think it's like $8 or something. It's not too expensive. And then the final thing I mentioned is this is the case that comes with the Wireless Go mic. They even come with these little wind screens. So it looks like a little kind of puff ball, and it goes on the end of the microphone that I'm wearing right now, and it prevents the wind from disrupting your audio. So if you're outside, you can throw one of those on there and you'll get that much better audio.
Awesome. What's that name of the little adapter?
It would be like a cell phone or smartphone audio adapter or audio jack adapter. Again, we'll link to it so you can just find the exact one that I'm talking about. But if you search for that, audio cell phone, jack adapter, you should find what you need, Nick, there.
How many weeks does Business Video School last?
The current course is 12 weeks. So when you sign up, you get 12 weeks of kind of intro class. So it's 3 months. And then after that, we'll have other courses available that you can kind of sign up for as you want to go through them. So we're actually considering, and this would be interesting to get some feedback from everybody, we are considering splitting the first course into 2 classes so that it's actually 6 classes, and then you get to take a break, and then we do 6 more as kind of a sophomore level. So I'm not sure which of those people would prefer. So if you do have a preference, if you feel like one of those would be better for you, please let us know in the comments, because we're always looking for more feedback on what we're doing. But as of now, it currently is 12 classes, and you can see all of those classes listed on the website. So if you go to the units and you look through each of the units is its own class.
I love it, dude. I love it. So I've got this little light I wanted to show you. It's by Jobby, because I always like to get Jobby stuff. But it's a cute little light, and it comes with a little diffuser on the front, right? So usually you attach these to both sides because this little contraption comes with these little arms. So you can get like 2 or 3 of these, and you can take them anywhere because they're so small. They're called Jobby BMOs. So the BMOs are super sweet. Been using them for about a year, and I love these on the go. So I love the little BMOs.
Very cool. So is that you buy Jobby stuff for all of your?
Dude, you know what? I've been buying it for so long. If you see behind me, I got another one for a camera right next to a Baby Yoda on this side. So
it's a good brand, man. It's good stuff.
It's good.
Absolutely. All right, let me see what we have left here. I think I had 1 or 2 more slides. I know we're running out of time though. So let me see what we got going. want to make sure we at least cover all of the remaining equipment. Yeah, so a couple last things I will show you. And again, this is getting even more advanced. So I don't know, Tristan, if you had your gimbal handy,
Yep.
but I will show mine here. So if you want to chime in with yours as well.
Sure.
Here's
buddy.
the one thing I'll tell you about a gimbal, all right? Because I get questions on gimbals all the time. And that is that before you ever turn this thing on, and again, let me turn off the slides. I know we're going back and forth a lot, but before you ever turn this thing on, so this is an Osmo Mobile 2. They have an Osmo Mobile 3 out now. It looks like Tristan might have the same model there. I got my phone in it, okay? But what you'll see here is the phone is slanting down that direction, okay? A gimbal is going to remove the jitters of your hand as you're moving, right? So as you move around, it's not gonna bounce all over the place like it would if you didn't have one. But what it's not gonna do is it's not gonna compensate for the phone not being balanced, okay? So a lot of people don't realize this. There's actually an adjustment knob on here where you need to move the phone over until it does balance, right? So you see that now? See how it's not leaning to one side or the other? And so if I don't do that before I turn it on, it's actually gonna burn out the motor in the gimbal, which is like very bad. So that's not what you wanna do, okay? And so then once you turn it on, you can see that as I move my hand, the gimbal's essentially moving with it. And then if I go up, it's gonna pan up. Same thing if I go down. And so one last thing I will say about this, the gimbal is a lot of people, the thing they get wrong is they try to move too fast. You're kind of bouncing all over the place. Even though it smooths out your motions, you still want to generally be very slow with it. All right. So if you're doing like a house video, you're going to want to use the 7-second rule, which basically means when something enters the screen on the left-hand side, by the time it enters or leaves the screen on the right side, should have taken at least 7 seconds. All right. So remember that when you're doing a pan of a room, you probably actually want to move a lot slower than you think you do. And that'll help you get much better shots with your gimbal. So we could probably do a whole class on gimbals. I know we don't have a ton of time at this point, but I did want to at least mention it because that is a very useful tool when you're getting a little bit more advanced. And then let's also show you this, because this is one of our pride and joys, so to speak here. This is our teleprompter, all right? So there you go. So that's what a newscaster looks into right there, okay?
I love that.
What's cool about this is that you can put a tablet in here or even a phone. You can get a teleprompter app that'll scroll your script. So if you have a script you're trying to read, and then you just look into this piece of glass here and it reflects the words into your eyes, right? But then the camera goes in it. The camera sits right inside of this thing. And so what's happening is that you think you're looking at your script, and you are, but you're also looking directly into your camera lens. So that's really cool. That's a really cool thing to have. Again, this is more of an intermediate tool. It's going to be stationary, so you have to be stationary when you're using it. You can't be walking around, obviously. But if you're having trouble getting through your scripts, or if you're having trouble completing a video and you need something where you're able to read it, this would be very helpful. It's also like kind of higher level. You can actually put, if you're on a Zoom call, you can put a tablet with the person's face on here, and you can talk to them and also look them in the eye at the same time. So that's a really killer ability. We've done that with some of our remote interviews before. So let me go ahead and put that.
You know, as you brought that up, I wanted to talk about really quick an app called Big View.
Yeah.
And it's BIGVU, really easy. And what it does is it uses your phone as kind of like a teleprompter.
Right.
So you can set up your phone right in front of you, and you can just read off of it like a teleprompter. And the cool thing is once you're done, you can use the captioning that you wrote for actual captioning as well. So take a look at the app Big View. It's a lifesaver, probably one of the best apps out there.
Yeah, great recommendation. And let's see, then the final thing I had on that slide is the webcam. So I'm not going to talk much about it. It's the webcam that I'm using right now. It's called a Logitech Brio Pro, I believe. So it's a 4K, or it's Logitech Brio 4K is actually maybe the technical name. But it's a 4K webcam. So obviously you're probably not seeing this in 4K because your video stream is limited by the bandwidth, by the internet connection. But it is a really nice webcam. So if you're looking to upgrade your webcam, I would highly recommend it. And then the final thing I want to show you before we get logged off here is the Moment lenses. And so if you're somebody that is looking to improve the quality of the videos you're shooting with your phone, these can be really cool. So Basically, you have to buy a custom special case that Moment makes. They also make a clip-on clip that you can add here. But if you get the case, watch what you can do. So here's my lens, all right? And here's my phone. All I do is I stick this here and I twist it. And now my lens is attached to my phone, right? And it's directly lined up exactly the place I want it. So I didn't practice this ahead of time, but I'm gonna try it real quick. I'm gonna see if I can put this lens. Yeah, look at that. So that's the difference, right? So this is the normal shot without that lens. And then here's the shot with the lens. So you see how much more of the room you can see right now? So this is what's called a wide angle lens. So it's going to give you more of the space that you're filming. And so I think that's really cool, especially for home tour videos, right? So if you're doing virtual open houses, you're doing home tours, that can be a really...
Did we lose his mic, Jeff?
Sounds like it.
There it is. You're back.
Doesn't cut out? I think my internet might be cutting out. Did you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Good.
It's storming in St. Louis.
Oh, okay. Well, we're almost done. So that's the Moment lenses. These are not cheap. They're about $100 a piece, but they are very high end. They're basically the same quality as like a actual lens for a camera. So highly recommended if you do want to get something that's a little bit higher end that you're going to be able to use with your phone. But you can get lenses that are much cheaper, right? So if you're looking for something that's, more like 20, 30 bucks, those exist as well. So that's the Moment lenses. Okay, I think I covered all of the equipment in about the amount of time we were supposed to have, right? It's 5:02 on my end, so we're a little bit, just a little.
Hey,
bit.
let's remind them where they can get copies of the replay, Tristan.
Oh, good idea, guys. So replay on this one, because it is recorded, is on our YouTube channel for Lab Coat Agents. And let me put up the link there. It's youtube.com/Lab Coat Agents. And I'll do you a favor here. I'll put that up on the link. And do me a favor, subscribe, because we get this question a lot. Do me, and when you subscribe, click on the little bell, because when you click on the bell, you'll get all of the video updates that we put up. And we here, all three of us, we run this every week on Thursdays at 2, and you may miss one. And these are some of the best that we do. So let me throw that on there. There's the link on the chat box. Take a look at it, click it, subscribe, click the little bell. Back to you, Nick.
All right, cool. Well, to wrap things up, I do want to mention again where you can get our list of free video tips, as well as receive a copy of all of the stuff we just covered. So rather than having to go back and look at the slides and figure it out on your own, we have links directly to Amazon where you can buy it. So again, you can either text "learn video," just one word smashed together, to 44222, and that's it. Don't send anything else in that text message. Or if you'd rather just go to the internet and do it on your computer, which is probably where you're watching this right now, just go to bit.ly/freevidtips, and you're going to be able to go ahead and register for that. So what'll happen is you'll get a series of 14 days where you're going to get a free video tip every single day, a lot of different stuff that we've talked about in these webinars over the past couple months. And then you're also going to get that equipment list, and you will at some point receive a little bit of information about the Business Video School, but really the first 2 weeks is just meant to be free value for you. So if you do want to learn more about video, that's a great way to do it. And then I know we are out of time, so if you do need to run, I totally understand. I do have a couple more slides to talk about the school. So I know we briefly covered it during the middle of the presentation, but if you do want to hang around for a couple more minutes, I'm happy to answer any questions about the school. We probably have some of our students on here right now. We typically do. And then I can show you what more people have thought, and just talk a little bit more about the structure. So again, if you do have to jump off, if you're not interested in the school at all, you don't want to learn any more about it, totally understand. But I do want to mention a couple more things here. So primarily, what I want to first say is just that the school is really meant for busy business professionals that want to learn this stuff efficiently and want to start putting it to practice immediately, right? What we're not trying to do here is, I'm not trying to say I created some sort of training program that has content in it that you can't find anywhere else, okay? Because the truth is, there's an abundance of information on the internet, right? You can go to YouTube, you can go to Facebook, you can learn a lot of this stuff on your own, trial and error, all that kind of stuff. What we wanted to do is put together something that we would have loved to have had 4 years ago when I first got started doing this, that would have told me exactly what process to go through, right? So how to shoot basic video with the phone, how to adjust all the app settings in the camera, right? What kinds of topics to talk about. you know, and then actually practice those skills. I mean, I think that's a big thing that's lacking with a lot of online learning, is actually implementing and practicing the skills that you're consuming, right? So that's a big part of this. We do exercises during a lot of the training. So you're doing them at the same time the fellow students are doing them. So you get to see some of what they're doing and give them feedback, and vice versa. And then you also have that homework project every week, but it's not just busy work, right? We actually make videos that you can use in your business. So just to kind of remind you what the structure is one more time, we do a weekly class. It's on average about an hour and a half. Most are within 10 minutes of that. You're going to do the exercises, you're going to watch the class with your classmates, and then you're going to have your homework assignment each week where you're going to produce something, again, that you can be using in your business. The practice exercises are a big differentiator between what we're doing and what you can get most other places, because we are holding you accountable. We're actually asking you to implement these skills as you go. And then there is a private group, right? So this is something where you're able to post your example work and get feedback and ask questions and figure out what you did wrong. And in addition to that, we also host these Q&A sessions where you can come on and get direct answers to your exact questions. And even if you have something that's a little bit more nuanced, or it's a problem that you specifically are running into, we can even break you out into a separate room with one of our instructors, and they can work with you for a few minutes at least, one-on-one, to address those problems. So we really wanted to build something that was going to be, you know, basically something that you're going to learn everything you need to, but also get the support and the accountability that I think is typically lacking in a lot of online learning. All right. So that's the gist of it. I'm going to remind you real quick, what is the school? The school is bizvideoschool.com if you want to go check it out. So again, I would go check it out right now. Our next class does start in 2 weeks, so you do have a little bit of time, but the past 2 classes have sold out. We have had to put a limit on how many people could enroll. So I'm not trying to create false urgency here. I'm just being honest with you. In April, both of those classes did end up with at least 50 students. And so we expect this one to as well. So if you want to go ahead and get enrolled now, it's probably not a bad idea. You have a couple weeks to just get in the right headspace to get started with video, and then we'll take it from there for you. But again, go to bizvideoschool.com to get signed up and to learn more. And the price for it, which is obviously important to also know, is $97 a month. So you can either pay $97 a month for those 3 months and get all 12 of those classes under your belt, or you can pay upfront and actually save 5%. So if you pay for the entire 3 months upfront, it's only $276. Very affordable, especially compared to a lot of the other options out there, right? So if you want to learn more, please visit that. And then I'm just going to throw up some of these quotes on the screen as we're kind of wrapping up here, because I think it's always helpful to see what other students have thought of the program. So far, the feedback we've gotten from everybody has been very positive. We have had a few students tell us that it's quite a bit of information, but that they like that they appreciate that we're not wasting any of their time, and that we are giving them a ton of value in this program. And then I'll show you one more quote here before we hop off from Becky about her experience in the school. So I don't know, I haven't been checking the chat. Jeff, do we have any final questions before we wrap up here?
I'm not sure who's still on. For the most part, no. The list of equipment, again, will be emailed out to everyone who registered for this, so you will get it. The replay is accessible. It'll be accessible in a few days on YouTube, the Lab Code Agents YouTube page. There was one question. Will any of this work? And I'm not sure if you're going to answer this, and I don't know if Mary's still on, but will any of this work with a Moto Z Force Droid? My phone has Moto mods to which magnetize onto it like a camera, battery packs, and projector. I don't understand what I just read.
Yeah, so, well, I'm not sure what you mean by will it work? I mean, if you're talking about the equipment, I mean, yeah, as long as you have like an audio jack that you can plug the microphones into, obviously the lights, that kind of stuff should work just fine because they don't integrate with the phone itself. And then I saw a question in the chat there that somebody was asking about, can you do the school if you don't have a camera? And I want to be clear, the school is all about making video with your phone. So we're not really asking you to bring a higher end camera. There will be higher level classes eventually that you could take if you do want to go that route. And we will actually have courses that are both for how to shoot videos yourself with a nicer camera, as well as how to work with a videographer. Because obviously working with a videographer, there's a whole bunch of aspects to that you can get better at and understand as well. So we'll give you that learning down the road. But yeah, this first class is all about your phone, because we really think that, you know, you've got a 4K camera. Most people, at least at this point, if you have a phone that's less than 3 years old or so, at this point you probably have a 4K camera in your pocket. So you don't really need to go invest in something more elaborate yet, right? Now, down the road, you might make that decision to do so. But yeah, for the school, you definitely do not need a fancier camera. So.
Somebody asked about teleprompter. Do you write down every word by word? Michael, my answer is yes. So if I use a teleprompter, which I use Big View, the app, so BIGVU, when I'm using Big View, it's because I want the video, I want the message to be crisp. Now, I will usually intentionally pause even for videos like that just to make it more real, like I'm not reading, but it's a totally different delivery than when I'm winging it, which I wing it 99% of the time. But every once in a while, the message I want to deliver, I just want it to be crisp, and I've got the words in my head and I put them to paper. I will type it out word for word, and literally it scrolls like a teleprompter as if I was the local newsman. So yes, I would say yes. If you're going to do it, use it, but try not to make it robotic. Make sure you're reading it and using some tonality and maybe pausing and making it seem real, because that's important. People don't want robotic or even professional. They want real.
Cool.
I think that's it. There was a million questions. I know we missed a bunch, so we apologize for that. Come back. We'll be here again next week. If you want, Nick, I'm going to speak hopefully for you here, but if you have questions about some of this stuff, feel free to go to the Business Video School Facebook page and pose the question there, because you know that Nick, Vanessa, myself, Michael, somebody's going to be responding, so it's going to be one of us. So feel free to pose a question you didn't get answered in the Business Video School Facebook page.
Yeah, happy to interact with you there. So please do.
Nancy asked if you teach green screen. I think the answer is how to edit green screen, Nick.
That would be in our more advanced courses. So for most people, green screen is a little bit too complicated when they're first getting started, but we will be teaching that in later editing classes.
So there you go. The answer is yes.
All right.
And by the way, Big View, the app Big View does have a green screen feature as well. It's more basic, but it is an option until you learn how to do your own editing.
Very cool.
Awesome. All right, Nick, this has been fantastic. Power Pack, thank you all for being on, and we will see you all next Thursday, same time, same place.
Sounds good. Cool. Talk to you then.
Bye, man. All right, take care.
See ya.